Hello there guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to look at how to use Laravel, in other words how to get started with using Laravel. So in this tutorial we're going to look at how to get started installing Laravel, and as well the basic fundamentals of Laravel. So we're going to look at in this tutorial. So alright, so let's get started. Now the first thing I want us to do is to install Laravel. And as you can see, I've already opened my VS Code, which is this one. But you can use any editor of your choice, but I would highly recommend VS Code. So now we're going to get started by installing Laravel, as you can see. So I'm using Laravel 8 is what we're going to look at. And this is how we can install Laravel. Now there are different ways of installing Laravel, but I'm going to be looking at how to install Laravel using the composer, which is the easier one. So now that means you need to have downloaded the composer so that you can get started using it. It's basically easy. You just need to download it, and once you download it, you need to connect it with your PHP. In other words, you also need to have your XAMPP. You also need to have a XAMPP or another particular panel that is installed, either one, but XAMPP would work well. Alright, so this is how we are going to do it in this tutorial. So let's get started by installing Laravel. So the first thing I would want us to do is to have this command, and we're going to install just using this command. So let's go to VS Code. Now in VS Code, I'm using Git to run my command in this particular terminal here. So that means that you also need to have Git installed as well. So that is important. Alright, so let's get started. As you can see now, I'm already in a particular folder structure that is in XAMPP htdocs. So you need so what you need to know here is that you may need to have a particular place that you have installed your XAMPP, and then within that XAMPP we have a folder that is created. In my case, I'm already having in XAMPP htdocs. That's where I'm going to install my Laravel app. Alright, so what you need to do here, you need to have this command. So let me just copy that command, and then just need to click. That is, you just need to paste, and then now here you need to, so let me rename this. So I'm going to give it something like Laravel 8 app. Alright, so I'm going to give it like that. So it's just Laravel 8, and then now here I'm going to hit enter so that you can start installing the Laravel. Okay, there's an error here. I think, okay, this one should not be this way. This one should be one word. Sorry about that. So let me just run the command again. So this one should be like that, Laravel 8, and then you just hit enter that way. Alright, so this is now installed. So now the Laravel has been installed in my local machine. So what I need to do here, I just need to go to htdocs app. So what I'm going to do here, let me just, that is, I should open it using the VS Code. Alright guys, so now this is the particular folder structure for my Laravel app. So as you can see, this is how you'll be presented with the Laravel. And with the Laravel, the first thing you'll have is the app and the other particular files, folders with particular files within them. So for example, we have the app. The app is where we have for example, we have the HTTP, which defines the controllers for application. We are going to learn about this as we continue. The middleware for authentication and all that. And as well, we also have, for example, some of the important features you need to know as you are getting started is the resources, where we have the views. You can define your views. For example, right now we have the view welcome, which is going to be the default page that is going to appear once we run this particular application. So this is how you get started. As well, we also have the routes. So we have your CSS where you can define your styles, as you can see. So for example, here we have the app.css. Now this app.css stands for the particular CSS that comes installed. Okay, the way you can install your CSS as well. Laravel also supports different frameworks, for example Bootstrap, Tailwind, and so forth. So we are also going to look at this one as we continue. Now let's get started with something here. So now the first thing I want us to do is to get started with using routing in Laravel 8. So now this is what we are going to do here. So the first thing here, let me change this one to the git bash and let me show you something. So we are going to get started by using the Laravel 8 routing. So the first thing we're going to look at is the basic Laravel route with controller, parameter, resource, and post. So this is what we're going to look at in this tutorial. Now, what is routing? Routing is simply the path in which Laravel provides for you once you define, for example, a view or a blade or any other particular file that you need to have that you needed to have a route. So in my case here, routes are defined within the routes folder, and then within the routes folder we have the API. This is the one that defines the API routes for your application if you are making an API. Now the basic one that you need to get started with is the web.php, which defines the routes for your the web interface as well, that is in the web.php. So let's get started with using web.php. Now web.php extends this particular class, as you can see, facades route, and as well it only returns the welcome page. That is the one I just showed you. The welcome is a view, so this is the view that is being returned within this route. So in other words, if we are going to run our application php artisan, so this is the command that we use to run. So let's open this application. So this is what you'll be presented with once you install your Laravel application. So now you can see the Laravel is now installed in our local machine. All right, so this is good to go. So what we need now to know here, we now need to start with the first one, which is the basic routing in Laravel. Now the first thing you need to know here is that this particular route returns this view, which is the welcome page. Now within the welcome page, within this particular route or within the routing in Laravel, you can even also return a string, for example. So this means that, for example, here, since we are returning this particular view here, we can also return a string instead of returning the particular view. So let me just show you using an example. So this one, for example, if I copy this one, and let me just paste it here. So what I may want to do here is that let me just comment this one out for now, and let's return something here, since I'm also going to use it again. So here, instead of returning the view welcome, I can also return, instead of returning a view, I can also return, for example, something like hello world, like this, and then let's end with that. So that means now this is the slash is the root, it's the particular root folder where we are now going to get the particular the particular path to what we are going to return. So here we are just returning this. So once we check again here, now remember this one is not going to return the particular view since we have removed it. So this is what we are returning. So now this is the starting of it. Now another thing here, let's continue. Now we can also return a particular endpoint within our application. For example, now instead of returning the root here, since it's only returning the root, that is the local host. So what we can do here is that now using this one is the return, that is the return hello world. So let me just copy this one. I can also return the particular endpoint and an endpoint. For example, let's say, let me give this one something like greeting, like this. So this one is, now we are going to get from the root, and then here we are going to get greeting, and then now we can return what we want. For example, hello world is good. So we'll be returning this particular string. So here we'll return. So if I go to slash greeting, as you can see here, I'm also going to return the particular string here. So we are using an endpoint, and the particular endpoint is returning for us the particular same string. So now this is just the basic on how to use routing in Laravel. So let's just continue advancing. Now the next one is we're going to look at is how to use a route with a controller. Okay, so now a route with a controller. What is a controller? A controller is basically a particular functionality that handles that you are able to create functions that are able to render particular views and as well routes within your application. So now we're also going to look at controller as we continue. So now, since you're going to use a route with a controller, what you need to do here, we are going to, let me click Ctrl+C to destroy this server. Let me just clear this. So now here, what I'm going to do, since I'm using a route with a controller, I'm going to use a command for creating a controller. Now this is the command that we use to create a controller: php artisan make controller, and then let me give this name user controller, and it's good to give them in the particular format I'm giving so that you can know how to use them well. So php artisan make controller user controller. So now let me just click this enter. It's going to create a particular controller here. So now this controller is created successfully. Okay, so now let me just clear this. It's good just to work with some. Okay, so now this controller is normally created within the HTTP controllers. So here, this is the controller that is created. Now you can see this controller extends controller, that is the controller class. So that's where the controllers are extended from. All right, so now this is the controller that we start making. Now within this controller, I'm going to return a view here. Now a view is simply what you see within any particular web page. So this view is I'm going to create a function here, and this function I'm going to call it public function, and then public function that is index, for example, and then here I'm going to create something that is I'm going to return the view as I've just said. So I'm going to return a view user. Let me close that one. So now this is a view I'm going to return. Now since I'm returning this view, I'm going now to the routes, and I'm going to make a route that is going to return the particular view. But since I've made a view, now I also need to make a blade template. Now what is a blade? We're also going to look at blades as we continue. For now, just get to know that a blade is what is the views, is where you make the views, and then we're able to return the particular view. So here I'm going to make a view here which is going to be, that is a blade template. It's going to be user blade.php. So what do we need to return in this view? I can return anything with this particular blade. So the first thing I would like to do is, let's say for example I'm going to return an HTML template here, for example. So let's say this is what I'm going to return. within this particular view, for example. So let me just save this one and let's go back to the web.php. Now within the web.php, let me make a route for that particular blade that I've just made there. So now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to make a route, and this route, for example, let me just copy one of these. So here I'm going to make a route. Now this route is going to get the particular view that I've created, which is the user. So instead of having greeting here, remember we have already talked about this, so the end point here will be /user. Now I do not need this function and as well. So what I need here, now I also don't need to return anything since the controller is already returning. So what I need to do here is that I need to have the user, and then I'm going to have the particular controller that I've created, so which is that one. So I just need to have a colon here, so the controller, and then we are now going to return the controller at index. In other words, we are referencing this particular controller within our web.php. So here I'm going to have user controller at index, and then from here I just need to close this like that, so we do not need this. So I'm returning user controller, that is and then at index. So this is what we are doing, and then let me close this with that. Okay, so now this is done, so we can just save this one. And what we need to do here, for example, within our particular blade, we can return anything we want. So here I can say something like welcome to your user page, like that, and let me just close this like that. So this is what we should be presented with once we load this particular view, like that. So remember, it is the controller here that returns the view. The view is what we have made here, the user, and then now the route is going to get the user, that is the view, and then within the reference of the user controller is going to return what it's there. So now here, what we need to do here, I think I had done something here, so I just need to run this again, php artisan serve. Okay, so let's just go to the URL. I think, okay, let me just take that one out. All right, now this is loaded. So now what I need to do here, I just need to have the endpoint, which is now the user, which should be able to return for me the particular view that I need here. Now you can see there's an error here which says target class user controller does not exist. Now this one means that the route may be wrong here, that's why it's still not able to get the particular class. Now this one is a change in Laravel 8.5 as we are with what we are looking at. So that means that there's a change in terms of how we give the routing in Laravel. So here what I need to do here is that I need to put it in the Laravel 8 format that has been introduced so far. So here I need to locate the app, and then from the app I need to have the HTTP, and then HTTP / the controllers. So I'm giving a path from the app, the HTTP, the controllers, then at index. So let's see again once I load this particular route. Alright, you can see now the particular view has been returned with welcome, that is welcome to a user page, as we had already made. So guys, now this is how we get started using routing with controller. Alright guys, so now let's look at routing with a parameter. So now let me take this server let me kill this server. So let me destroy that server and let me just clear this. So now what we're going to do here is that we're going to make a post controller that is going to return a particular ID over a particular post. So since we had already made a particular controller here, so let me just edit this and make a post controller for a blog. So controller, that is make post controller, like that, and let me click enter. So now this controller is created. So let me just clear this. So now we have a post controller here, just below with the user controller. Now this post controller extends the controller as well. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a public function like this. So this public function is going to have a function show. Now this show is going to return, we're going to pass it an ID, since it's the one that is going to return the particular ID of the post. So here I'm going to say return post, and then I'm going to give it the ID. Let me just do it in small caps like this, and then a colon there, and then the dot, which is going to represent, that is the ID of the particular post, like that. So I'm returning the post ID with this one. Let me give it a space there, with the ID. So what is going to do here is going to reference the particular ID that I'm going to give for the particular post. So that is what is happening in the post controller. Now let's go back, because we are dealing with the routing. So remember, we are looking at route with parameter. So what is route with parameter? Now route with parameter is what I'm going to give so as to reference the post ID. So what I'm going to do here is that, let me just copy this particular route, since I already made it. So I'm going to use this one. Now since here we are not going to get the user, but you're now going to get a particular post. Now that means I need as well to have a post blade or a view that is going to return the particular post. So within the views, I'm going to create a post.blade.php like that. So I'm going to create that particular blade, which is now going to return. So it means that here my endpoint is now going to be the post like this, and then here I'm going to reference at shows. Remember, I've created the show here within the post controller, right? So this is going to return this particular at show within the post. Now since I've already made a post controller with the show ID, because I want us to return a post ID of a post, so what I'm going to do here is that this is now what we refer to as a route with parameter. I'm going to give a slash here and then a bracket here, so this should be closing, and then I'm going to reference the ID of the particular post, which is now being returned from the at show functionality. So this is what is happening here. So let me just save this one. So we are returning the post slash post with the ID, and then like this. So for example, that is within the post blade, I can as well have the HTML code and have something like an H1 here, and let's say this, sorry, this is the blog post, this is the blog page, sorry, for the post like this, and then I'm going to close like that. So this is what is going to be rendered on the web page, and then the route here is going to give, so once we give a particular ID of the post, it's going to be returned likewise. So let's check this. So now here, let's get out of the user, and now let's go to the post. Now for example, if I go to /post, I'm going to be presented with something. Sorry, here I need to restart my server again. Alright, so now this is good to go. So let me refresh again. So guys, so now this is how you give it. So I'm giving, for example, /1, which should be able to give me, but now I'm getting this error. Sorry guys, so what we need to do here to avoid this error is that I have not changed this one to post controller, so that is just a small error there. So this one should be post controller like this, and then let me just save, since we are referencing this particular controller. So let me just restart it again. As you can see, now we have the post ID. So that means, for example, if you give any particular post ID here, it's going to reference that particular post ID. So if it's 9, it's going to give 9. But now if I go to the without the ID of the post, for example, should give me this particular page here, the post blade, which says this is the blog page for all the posts likewise. Sorry, this is not found since we are referencing the ID of a particular post, but we are not returning the post as we did with the user, but we are going to return it as we continue. So just know this is how we make a route with a parameter. So lastly, what you're going to make here is the route with a resource, and as well a route with a post, but we are going to look at the route with the source. Now the route with the source simply means, for example, now here we have one function, but let's say you are making a blog which has particular CRUD functionality, the create, read, delete, update, store, and so forth. Now you may need to want to have a route which references a particular resource. So that's what we refer to as a route with a resource. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to delete this particular controller here. So I'm going to take this one out. So let me just delete this one like that. Since that one is done, let me come back to the server again. So what I'm going to make here is, now I'm going to make a controller here. I don't know if this command is still there. I think it's still there. So I'm going to make a PHP make controller, that is the post controller again, but now this time I'm going to make it with a resource. In other words, I'm going to give this -- a resource. So now what it's going to do is going to make a post controller with all CRUD functionality that you find in a blog. Okay, now this is created successfully. So now let's navigate to the newly created post controller. Now you find that it's different from the one we had just created. Now this one has all the CRUD functionality, the index, the create, where we are going to store our post, as well the show, the edit, and the update as well. So now this is what we refer to as a route, referencing a route that is a route with a resource, and the resource is, for example, the post controller we have just created. Now for example, let's go back to the show where we had just done the post ID. So remember here I had given a particular code like this. Let me just paste what we had before like that. So now remember, this one was returning the ID of the post, just like we did. Now we are also going to populate these other ones as we continue advancing in this particular series. So here, what we now need to do is to make the route, is now to check to see the route with the resource. And what we're going to do here is that I'm going just to copy this, and I'm going to paste here. So what I'm going to do here is that now, instead of having this post with the ID, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to eliminate that one. Now, instead of referencing an individual particular function here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give it, that is route, and then instead of get here, I'm going to give it a route resource, like this. So what this means is that now it's going to run everything that you're going to create here. For example, if you're going to return a particular post, if you're going to navigate to the create page for creating a particular post, as well as storing particular post that is you have created, editing, and as well updating, and as well deleting. So you do not need to create individual functions to perform all these particular tasks. So I can delete this one, since remember it was referencing the show. Since we are now using the route resource, it's going to do all this particular work. So this is so in other words, now when I save this and go, now let's, okay, now you can see this is now it's now referencing the post. Now we need to return this particular view. Sorry, I'd forgotten to return this, so that's why it is the 404 not found, since this view is not being rendered. So what I'm going to do here is that so within the index here, so I'm going to return a view. So this is what I'm going. It's going to be the post blade. So this is what we are returning in this particular view. So let me reload this again and let's see. So now you can see the page is now being rendered, which has this is the blog page for all the posts. So right guys, so that is now the route with the resource, the route, and then you give the resource. So far we have looked at the basic route functionality. Now lastly, I told you about route with the post. Now route with the post, we are going to check it as we continue, because this is now the route with a post is the one that is used in submitting data. For example, you may have a contact form in your app that takes input from a user and submits it to a mail server. So that is now, this is where the route post is going to be used. So we are going to check as we continue. So guys, so thanks for watching this video.